And we're going to introduce these two candidates, have an opening statement, a few questions, and a closing statement. We did draw for numbers before all of this started tonight, and we're going to go with our magistrate court judge. On the left is Linda Short. Give us a wave, Linda, and everybody knows who Linda is. And a Republican, and also running on the Republican ticket on the right, Mr. Timothy Gibson. And Linda, you drew the number one shot, so we're going to let you start with opening statements, up to 2 minutes, and share with us your thoughts on the office of Roosevelt County Magistrate Court Judge.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Linda Short, and I am a lifetime resident of Roosevelt County. My late husband, Rick, and I raised 3 beautiful children here in Roosevelt County, and since December of 2010, I have had the honor and privilege to serve as Roosevelt County Magistrate Judge. I started my career with the court system in July of 1990 as a clerk for Judge Jesse Porter, and this July I will complete 24 years experience with the judiciary. 2.5 years of that time, I was fortunate to be employed with the 9th Judicial District Attorney's Office, which allowed me to gain experience at a different level of our legal system. Beginning my career as magistrate judge, I took an oath of office to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico, and that is not something I take lightly. I still remember the first time that I put my robe on and how heavy that robe felt. The weight of that robe is a daily reminder to me each and every time I wear it and step into my courtroom of the impact my decisions will make on a person's life. I believe I have fulfilled my duties as magistrate judge faithfully, and if re-elected, I will continue to fulfill my duty fairly, impartially, respectfully, and professionally. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Linda. Moving that mic over to Timothy Gibson, candidate for Magistrate Court Judge. Your opening statements, Mr. Timothy Gibson.
Hello, my name is Timothy Gibson. I'm a 31-year-old candidate for Magistrate Judge. Let me start off saying, don't let my age scare you. I know I'm one of the youngest candidates to ever run for this position, but however, I have several years of experience in law enforcement. As a little boy, all I ever wanted to do was be in law enforcement. In December of 2003, I began working for the Roosevelt County Detention Center. Within a year, I was promoted to corporal and then sergeant. While working at the detention center, I was active in the reserve program for the Roosevelt County Sheriff's Office. I'd ride along with the deputies and do the job right along beside them. I knew law enforcement is where I needed to be. In 2007, I began working for the Portales Police Department, where I received my New Mexico law enforcement certification. In 2010, I began working for the Roosevelt County Sheriff's Office as a deputy sheriff, where I continue to work today. While in law enforcement, the magistrate judge position has always interested me. The longer I was around the position, the more intrigued I became. I knew someday that I would run for magistrate judge, and after speaking with family, friends, and numerous citizens of our community, I decided now there's time to try to make this dream come true. I believe in my years of law enforcement experience, I have been very proactive. I have successfully investigated criminal cases as well as served our community in numerous ways. If elected, I will continue to serve our community in a positive manner. Everyone has heard the saying in law enforcement, protect and serve. As a judge, it is your job to do that very thing. You are there to serve the community in any way possible, and you're also there to protect the community from those who choose not to follow the rules and laws imposed. If elected, I can promise that I will do this very thing as a fair and impartial judge.
Thank you, Timothy. Let's keep that mic with you, and we're going to start with the questions, and we'll just banter back and forth, and we'll see how we go with this. Let's start with this one. In your opinion, what does the magistrate judge's office need to do better? What does the magistrate judge's office need to do better?
One thing I've seen over the years that I believe could be done better is possibly an open door policy for the judges' chambers. There's always community concerns that need to be voiced, and I think that that's one thing that we need to see happen. Another thing, stricter sentencing on repeat offenders. or repeat offenders has always been a problem in this county, and I believe that a stricter sentencing and maybe stricter community services would make that, help ease that problem.
Thank you, Timothy. Let's move it over to Linda. Share with us, what do you think the magistrate judge's office could be doing better now?
Well, to reiterate what the other candidate said, there's always room for improvement. I run a respectful, courteous courtroom, organized courtroom, and I demand that from my staff as well. Now, however, as a magistrate, I do not have the authority to hire or fire any employee or to really discipline. Besides, I get to give my input on how the daily activity needs to run. I can tell you I have worked every position of the magistrate court in my years with the court, so I know what those duties are for a clerk, supervisor, court manager. I know the duties can be completed professionally and courteously and respectfully, and they will continue to be that way as long as I am magistrate.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next question, and we'll start, Linda, with you. Will you be performing marriage ceremonies if elected? There are multiple parts of this question, so let me go through this one. Will you be performing marriage ceremonies if elected? And if yes, what about gay marriage ceremonies, yes or no?
I do not perform wedding ceremonies. As a magistrate, I'm not required to perform wedding ceremonies, so no, I do not.
Okay. If you want to pass it over to Timothy, and the question will go to you. Will you be performing marriage ceremonies if elected? If yes, what about gay marriage ceremonies? If not, why not?
I'll have to agree with Judge Short on this. As a magistrate, you're not required to perform marriage ceremonies, and as well, I believe that the magistrate judge has more obvious things and concerns that need to be taken care of. So as a magistrate judge, I will not be performing any marriage ceremonies.
Okay, go ahead and keep the microphone right there. We'll go on with this. County commissioners have been studying the idea of a new magistrate court building. Is a new building necessary, and what would your vision for the facility be? Timothy.
Well, I am aware of their discussions on building a new building. I do believe that a new building does need to be brought in. The location of where they're wanting to put the building, I think, is a great idea. It will help with security risk in law enforcement as well as prisoner transport. We find ourselves, there's always a risk while moving a prisoner from one place to another. I believe that their position of building a new courtroom and the location of where they're wanting to build a new courthouse, I think is a great idea, and I think it should definitely happen.
Okay, pass that on over to Linda. As we said, county commissioners have been studying the idea of a new magistrate court building. Is a new building necessary, and what would your vision for the facility be?
I can tell you a new building is necessary. And if you don't believe me, just come and out to the magistrate court and I'll take you on a tour. It's necessary for security issues, number one. Security issues have always been my number one concern as a clerk and a magistrate, not only for my staff, but for anyone who walks into that court building. The one thing I did ask when this process began on designing a building is I asked for the magistrate court to be connected to the detention center in some way for the safety of the correction officer or whoever who's transporting, and for the inmate, where there is not any access, outside access to either one. And that has been completed, and there will be a secured vestibule. The inmate will never leave the facility. They are escorted in to the holding cells, and then in time, when it's time to bring them into the courtroom, they will come directly into the courtroom.
Okay, thank you. One more question, then we'll do our closing thoughts. How will you and your staff approach jury duty to ensure citizens' time and service is respected? If you're elected, how will you and your staff approach jury duty to ensure citizens' time and service is respected?
That is the one thing that I'm still working on after 3+ years. There are usually issues, unforeseen issues, that come about when it comes time for jury selection. I set them for the first Monday of the month to begin at 9 a.m. in the morning. Sometimes due to unforeseen circumstances, it takes a little longer. I do attempt to get in that courtroom as soon as possible, no later than 9:30 to get in and start selecting. It's a matter of pushing attorneys, getting defendants present. Sometimes we have to wait on jurors. If not enough jurors appear, the clerks have to get on the phone and start calling jurors in. But I do run a tight schedule for my courtroom. If something's set at 9 o'clock, I want to be in that courtroom ready to go at 9 o'clock. Like I said, sometimes unforeseen circumstances, that doesn't happen.
Thank you, Linda. And Timothy, to you, how will you and your staff approach jury duty to ensure citizens' time and service is respected?
Well, one thing is that you can get with the attorneys, get with the jurors, let everybody know that court's going to start at 9 o'clock and uphold that. Make sure that they understand that we have a tight schedule. It needs to start on time, and make sure that they're there. As the judge, you set those bases, you set those precedences, and I think that as long as you set that precedence and you make them known that the court will start on time, then they will make sure to uphold that.
Okay, go ahead and keep that microphone there, and we're going to go to our closing comments, and you have up to 2 minutes to, again, share your thoughts and feelings on why people should elect you. We're going to start, as we said at the beginning, Linda started this one, so closing comments. Timothy Gibson, Republican candidate for Magistrate Court Judge, your 2 minutes of closing thoughts, why you should be the Magistrate Court Judge.
Well, there's one thing in law enforcement that we see on a regular basis is repeat offenders. We deal with the same people committing the same crimes over and over again. There are entirely too much repeat offenders committing DWIs, batteries, larcenies, and so forth. This is something that needs to change. These offenders need to be shown that the crimes that they commit don't just affect them, it also affects our community. And because it affects our community, I think they should give back to our community, not by paying fines or being on probation, but by serving our community. With the help of Roosevelt County, with the help of the citizens of Roosevelt County, I believe if we can make our community a much safer place. I believe in the old saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I won't be fooled twice. If someone continues to commit the same crimes, the consequences will get harsher. I'm asking the citizens of Roosevelt County to elect me as their next magistrate judge and to help me make our community a safer one for our children's future. I also want to say thank you to the Chamber of Commerce and everybody that helped put this event together. Thank you.
Thank you, Timothy. If you pass it over to Linda, 2 minutes to share your thoughts on the Magistrate Court Judge position. Linda Short.
As a judge, I believe I can help my community in ensuring the safety of all the citizens of Roosevelt County by making the decisions required by a judge, anywhere from bond amounts on a defendant to the final adjudication. I believe I've helped Roosevelt County in sentencing defendants to pay Crime Stoppers contributions, be sentenced to complete community service work. I have worked diligently on getting community service programs started because I do believe when you are ordered or sentenced to complete community service hours, you work for it. You don't get to sit behind a desk and answer phone or push paper. I want you working. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Chamber for putting this forum together so that the county can become more acquainted with the candidates running for office. And I would ask for your vote in the Republican primary on June 3rd, and I urge you to come out and exercise your right to vote. And please vote Linda Short for re-election for the position of Roosevelt County Magistrate Court. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. So these two candidates, both on the Republican ticket for the office of Roosevelt County Magistrate Court Judge, Linda Short and Timothy Gibson. Please, a round of applause for these two wonderful candidates. Well, fans, friends, thanks for tuning in. Thank you to everyone that came out tonight. We really appreciate it, and I want to invite those of you that are in the room to come on back. There's refreshments that the ambassadors have put together. I want to remind you of a couple of Things before you leave. Please don't leave just yet. Everybody listen up. I want to remind you that the election day is June the 3rd. It's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And early voting, absentee voting starts May the 6th and goes through May the 31st. Early voting starts May the 17th through May the 31st. In the foyer, there are directions on election information. I want to say a very public thank you to Rooney Moon Broadcasting and 105.9 KSL Country for carrying us live on the air, and a very special thank you to Portales High School Media Arts for carrying us live online. I'm Don Thomas. Carl Terry to my left here is our Executive Director of the Roosevelt County Chamber of Commerce. You can find out more on portales.com of all the things that we got going on, from the Yam Music Series that'll be here next Thursday night, to Heritage Days that'll be in June, to so many other things that are coming up. We appreciate you listening and watching this and tuning in. We're going to say goodnight. Thank you. Get out and vote on June the 3rd on our general election. Once again, thank you for tuning in. You are dismissed. Good night.